Hey, Daddy Homeschools here. Solo homeschooling with heart. Let me just wake up and then I'm going to tell you my story. I'm reading volume 2 of Simon Schama's History of Britain. So I'm going to do that until probably 6:45, and then I'm going to crack open my to-do list before the kids get up. The kids are listening to the Beauty and the Beast in the original French as they kind of slowly wake up, instead of going straight to Instagram, straight to podcasts, straight to email, WhatsApp, trying to keep on top of everything. I just found myself having 5 or 10 minutes just doing nothing, thinking. Rather than the ambient anxiety of do things productivity, there's a kind of calmness out of which is built your life. I'm not saying Wi-Fi is like the key to that, or getting rid of your Wi-Fi is the key to that, but it's really made a difference. I mean, these last 5 days, I mean, maybe in a few months things are going to change, but it is a very different lifestyle. Take it from me. My daughter's been going through this Delia's How to Cook book, and she just did a fantastic leg of lamb recently. In quarantine, there's been so much that's been destroyed. It seems like so much of my life that's been destroyed in the last year, that there's somewhere deep in my subconscious that wants to rebuild a life, reclaim a sense of community. And having stripped away all of the faff in my life, I think I'm seeing more clearly what's essential for that community and that communal living, and living a life that's deeply connected with other people and deeply invested in serving. Which is part of why I think I'm shedding Wi-Fi and trying to grow and build. And I'm gonna go and work out now. Time is about 8 o'clock, which means you've got 1 hour to go and get breakfast. Boys, you got 1 hour, dudes, for breakfast. I'm gonna go and work out, okay? You see these scratches on my head? That's from wrestling my 3-year-old. As I cut out things from my life, I become more sensitive to other things I need to cut out from my life. My body and life and mind becomes a more delicate balance, where one little thing, I feel how much it throws me off. It's not so much that it throws me off more, it's just that I feel it more. My needs, one of which is I'm lonely. And yesterday we went on a little tour of all of our local church friends. We got in the car and just went round each one of them. We can't really chat at church at the moment, it's against the law, I guess. So we went round, knocked on people's doors, asked how they're doing, and prayed with them. It's not a coincidence that I did that for the first time in many months, a few days after getting rid of my Wi-Fi. Months ago I put a lot of effort into trying to make their breakfast times autonomous. I've got until 9 o'clock. People say, how do you do 24 hours a day with your children? 3 children, supervising them all day and all night. No, I don't. They go to bed at 7:30 and I usually don't need much after that until 9 o'clock the next day. Kids are on a phone call to their mother. Right now it's about 9:30, I've finished my workout. I'm just gonna make some meat protein for myself. I'm gonna do breaded chicken, and like chicken goujons kind of. One of the things that losing the internet has done for us is that we've relied more on CDs for our music, which on the one hand is less, at first it seemed less convenient and less, well it is on the face of it, but we are going through the whole CD now of something. So if we have a Tchaikovsky, we're not just listening to that moment of the Nutcracker that we really like, we're listening to the whole thing because our mind is kind of just slowed down. And we know it's Tchaikovsky because we look at the physical CD thing, we see Tchaikovsky, you know, my daughter puts it in the CD player, she actually has a physical connection with it. All the better if we actually went to the orchestra, right, and saw it all. That's how my love for music was awakened. I'll do a bit more so actually. As my mother brought me to, when she was homeschooling me, to the Barbican, which is a venue in London where the LSO plays. My father's father was in the LSO. Anyway, my love for music partly was awakened by going to see the actual physical orchestra, actual physical plays. You make the decision, whatever you think is going to be better for you. If you know that you're not going to forget and it's going to work well for you and it's going to be good for you, then play first and then work. Or you could work hard first and then enjoy playing afterward. So you're going to do that instead. And then a celebration, yeah, exactly. We can all have a celebration after we've done our work.
I think this...
Guys, let's have matinee. Guys?
I'm here.
Good. Come sit down, let's have matinee. So it's 10 o'clock, we've done all of our chores. We've got until 3, you're going to Mimi's for a few hours where I'm going to do some work. It's still Christmas week, so we don't have to do our to-do list, we don't need to do any study really. But what do you guys want to do?
Yeah.
So if you're going to struggle on your own, you can ask us to help you with the stairs. We could all do the stairs together and then we'll all do this room together. How about that?
Yeah, yeah.
Hands up who wants to go to the woods. Okay, let's do that. You're hurting my feelings by shouting at me disrespectfully. It's time for you to come and talk to me, I think. Don't you think that would be right? When your father's asking you to come and talk to him. You made a big mess in this bathroom. And he's responsible, therefore, for clearing it up. Guys, we brought this microscope thing, lens.
Faces from going bald. Do they go to a barber?
So I was reading Mansfield Park by Jane Austen.
Lady Bertram smile and make her sit on a sofa with herself.
20 minutes left for eating, okay? And we're gonna move on. But I am starving, trying to lose weight, and so I haven't eaten much today. And the weird thing was, I was just thinking how hungry I really am. And then I got a text from Just Eat, which is like Uber Eats kind of, saying, not long now, your Brano's order is on its way. I didn't order that. So now that I say it out loud, that means someone's on my account, right? Either someone's on my account or it's just a mistake. So that means I probably need to fire up the Wi-Fi to have a look. Or when they come, I'll just ask them. I don't know, what would you do? I wanted to kind of introduce myself. Ridiculous moment in the vlog to introduce myself, but I realize a lot of you kind of don't know me or what I'm about or who I am. So I'm Jack. I grew up in England. I was born in Canada. Don't worry, I'm not going to tell my whole life story. But my sister was having a hard time in school, so my mother took her out of school, and just decided, you know, it'd be better to teach boyo at home as well. So my mother set about trying to create home education. She didn't know she didn't have any friends. She had to go and seek out friends for buddies doing home education. She created a whole way of doing it from scratch, kind of. She learned a bit about Charlotte Mason, that sort of thing. Home educated. She did a Sunlight curriculum, which is a literature-rich Christian curriculum from the US, which I highly recommend. I was sponsored by them last year, and one of the books was Granny Han's Breakfast, and it was about some missionary in China who had to rely on the Lord, and another one was Gladys Aylward, about a very brave, courageous woman in China doing the Lord's work there. And these two books really hit me hard, and I decided that I wanted to become a missionary. I wanted to go to Africa. I wanted to travel around from the north, round to the east, around Madagascar, around South Africa, around the west, Ghana, top, curing malaria and things like that, doing scientific or medical work, and preaching the gospel. That's what I decided I wanted to do. Seeds of that were planted with those early books when I was 6, 7, 8. I grew into a fully fledged ambition at 10 or 11, and I've never lost that ambition. I still want to be a missionary in the places where God is not, where the gospel is not known. That's where I want to be. That's where I want to spend my life. So as a teen, when my mother was encouraging me to fulfill my potential as an academic, i.e. going to university, or rather the way she'd put it, I think, is that she didn't want any doors closed. So she wanted to keep my options open. Getting a degree means that you can go, it gives you a bit more mobility. So I did GCSEs in little co-ops, home education co-ops. I was 12, 13, 14, 15, and I did chemistry, I did RE, I did drama. Little fun fact, I think it was an F in the theory of drama, and I got an A in the practice or practical of drama. Maybe that's evident by the fact that I'm sitting in front of a camera doing YouTube here, but I did art. It was more humanities based. And then I remember sitting in the kitchen, and my mum and dad were there, and thinking, what are we going to do? What are you going to do then, Jack? A hint of anxiety, I think, about what if I was going to end up closing doors to myself, or that I was going to flourish, and how I was going to flourish. So I said, I want to be a missionary, and she said, well, study theology. And I said, okay, if that's what you do when you become a missionary, then you study theology, then I'll go ahead and study theology. So then the question was I going to a Bible college, which was specifically Christian, or was I going to a secular university? And I decided that I wanted to be on the mission field as well as prepare for the mission field, and meaning I wanted to be where Jesus was not known and Jesus was not considered king, and that is secular universities, in order to prepare by studying Christian apologetics. So my experience at university, 4 years in Aberdeen University in Scotland, was very a lot of debates about whether a God exists, stuff like that. That's what I was doing in my essays. That's what I was doing in my spare time. Now the story that runs alongside this is when I was doing A-levels, which is the bit before university. I met a woman who was not a Christian. Her background was Christian, and we spent all day long talking to each other about all kinds of things. We were studying similar things, and we just talked about everything. And I was very foolish in that period. I was a young man, kind of wanting to make my own mark, establish my own autonomy, very boring teenage stuff, you know, becoming my own person, and in doing so, kicking down a lot of boundaries that are there to safeguard me. And so I became entangled romantically with my friend, and we married and had a child, and that was 1 year before I went to university. So we went to university with one child, my eldest daughter, and the idea was that I would study and then my wife would study, and in the meantime while I was studying, we had 2 more children, and I spent all of my time studying and being a missionary in Aberdeen, and I did not spend enough time with my family, and I felt guilty about that, and I did a lot of growing up in those 4 years. I became a man in those 4 years. I didn't become a man when I was 18. I became a man, I think this is true for most men, I became a man somewhere in between 18 and 25, slowly. That's not necessarily the right way of doing it. I think a man should become a man when he's, 14, but partly just my faults and failures, partly the way I think society is structured is kind of, I had this extended adolescence, and anyway, I only took responsibility for myself as a father, not just a man who has children, when I was at the tail end of that university experience, when I thought, this is not right. I didn't help around the house at all. I didn't do anything with money. I didn't take responsibility for the house, for the running of the house. What I did do was take responsibility. I did lead philosophically, like I did cast a vision for what I wanted the family to be, and how I wanted us to serve, and my moral direction and stuff like that. But I didn't root that in culture, in the culture of the family, and I didn't give self-sacrificially in order to invest in that and give that space to grow. So what I did is I said, your turn to study now, wife, and so she did. I remained faithful, but I became alienated emotionally, and that was a decision really on my part to alienate myself from her and distance myself from her. I was running away, really, emotionally. This was very, very tough. I had decided that we cannot be going to the mission field. I wanted us to go to the Middle East in the next 5 years. We decided that wasn't going to happen, so we're going to stay home and focus on ourselves. So I homeschooled while she was studying, and I homeschooled when she stopped studying and started working. The idea was eventually she would take that role herself as the home educator. I woke up one morning and my wife was not there, and I was with 3 little kids, and spent a long time being their caregiver, just me and them. And fast forward to now, my wife is seeing the children. My ex-partner is seeing the children regularly. She's a fantastic blessing to them again. She has them over to her house every week, 3 times a week for a few hours each time, and they love it, and they are rebuilding that relationship with her. The hardest thing about the separation is that when you have a partner, you know it is you and them against the world, that no matter what, no matter what obstacle confronts you both, the one thing you can count on is that you'll be both there. If you both fail to get over the obstacle, you're both there failing to get over the obstacle. If black, crippled, dark things get revealed about my personality or heart or flaws or failures, that the pain of seeing that will have the balm of someone loving me anyway. And so what separation does, if you, I think, have any sensitivity to your own failures, is that there's this great big gaping rash wound of seeing the horror of the human heart, but there's no plaster. There's no earthly, the one bandage that you thought would be there. Kind of mopping up the blood. Is not. A song that I wrote in that time period was called A Gospel Horn, and the lyrics are something like, and then when my thoughts were then as knives, you came in silken robes. I saw the dying Son of Life, in him I found my all. The gospel horn, a sound unknown, that he would never leave his own. Then did my dead heart begin to beat, a wintry soul that glimmered with fiery heat. When my thoughts were as knives, had a wintry dark heart, and I cried out saying, open chested, open wounded, and on the battlefield, saying, who is it? Who is out there? Is there anyone out there? I heard the gospel horn, the gospel cornet, that he will never leave his own, and that was the balm that I had not found elsewhere.